Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Choose Strong podcast. I am your host, Sally McRae, and I want to thank you first and foremost for choosing to listen to today's show and just for being a part of the community. Every download matters to us, and this community is growing. I always say it's the strongest community around. Choose Strong is about strong love, strong mind, strong body. So we really appreciate you listening. Now, today, I am beyond thrilled to have this guest. He is a good friend of mine and also well known. So you might already know our guest very well, but I will say this, and I'm just going to say, please welcome Hellah Story, also known as Hellah Good.
Thank you.
Yes. One of the things that I love about today's guest is he is a true light and a joy. Now, as someone who is on social media quite a bit, that's something that Hellah and I share. We both have YouTube channels and we're on Instagram and we love to speak and we like to be around people. It's easy to wonder if someone is putting on a show or is just only the way that they are online. And I'll tell you what, one of the reasons why Hellah and I connected so quickly when I first met him back in 2021 was because he's real, and who he is on social media is who he is in real life all the time. And so he is a bright light in our community. He has an incredible story. And today we are going to talk about his Western States journey, a little bit about just who he is as a person, and really just share some highlights of our friendship. So I just want to give a very warm welcome to Hellah. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I was so excited when you talked about this. Say, we got to get on this podcast. And I saw some comments on our post. People were like, you got to get on the Sally McRae podcast.
Yes.
I appreciate your presence in this world for sure, without a doubt. And your kind words. It's just unreal that I get to be friends with you. I talked to my friends a couple of days ago as we were together, and I said, hey, this is so cool. Like, I met Sally right after she won Badwater, and we became such a friend that she came to help me out at one of the hardest races that I've done yet. So it's a privilege and an honor, just exciting. You can't stop smiling being around somebody like yourself. And your energy is unreal.
Yes. Likewise.
Yes.
I think one of the things you and I were laughing out about before this podcast started was, and this is kind of like a side note, but Hellah and I are both supported by like our favorite people on the planet. So we were giggling because Hellah, he said, you and I are kind of like twins, and both of our partners are like twins.
Yes.
And I don't know anyone that celebrates the love of his life more than you do. So can you just give us like a quick introduction to Lex and how you two work together? And then we're going to dive into all the other stuff too.
So I met Belle in college back in 2012. And
you call her Belle.
Yeah, I call her Belle. So her name is Alexa Torres. So everybody goes to, hey, Belle, that's not her name, but she doesn't mind. So when I met her, I just nicknamed her Belle, which is like beautiful in French.
Beautiful,
so,
yes.
So that just became, sweet. I saved her number as Belle immediately. There's no change in that till this day. So it's weird. When I actually say Lex or Alexa, it sounds weird to me. It seems like I'm calling somebody a stranger person's name. But yeah, she's been the brain behind all this. I said without her, there's no Hellah Good. She asked me, hey, I should document your run journey. Let's put it on YouTube. And I didn't want to at first, but I'm so happy that I did, because that turned into something that I could have never imagined. And everything I do, the only thing I'm in charge of is my travel uploads and my story. And even with that, I go show her, is this okay? Is this fine? But everything else we're talking about, from Reels, TikTok to YouTube to podcasts, everything I do, she's the person behind it. I just run. I said my job is easy. Her job is doing the behind the scene, and she likes to be secretive and hide herself and let me
she does.
get all the shine, which she definitely deserves, but she doesn't care for that.
Well, I really love that you guys have that incredible teamwork and that partnership. It is super sweet, but I just loved watching you guys interact throughout the race and the times I've been around the two of you. You guys respect each other so much and genuinely care about each other. I mean, it was crazy. Even in the middle of the race, you were asking questions about her, making sure that she was taken care of and respected and all these things.
I was like, make sure
you're like on
guys
mile
give
81.
Her space.
And
I say, when you guys at the finish line, make sure she gets space to get her content. We also have a YouTube channel of this because she won't say it. She's quiet. She won't be like, can I get a little? No, she'll just be like, she's too selfless. And I'm like, sometimes you gotta be a little too little selfish. Nothing wrong with that. Yes. Yeah.
Well, Hellah, I want to, I want to kind of dive further into who you are, because I know there's going to be people listening. We get tens of thousands of downloads on these episodes, and I know there's going to be people listening that don't know about you and your story. And so I know you had just said that you met Bella back in college. So let's kind of just dive into your journey, because one of the things that I love that you and I share is this love for soccer. You and I both had a dream.
I know I love running, but that game is the best in the world. I gotta say.
We had dreams of becoming a professional soccer player, which you did. I did not become that, but I love that you and I share that, because we now are endurance athletes and still kind of look a little bit like soccer players.
Yes,
so
we do. It's a nice stepping stone.
It really is. So can you share with us a little bit about your college days, actually how you came to the United States? I don't know how much of your story you want to dive into. You shared a lot of it when we were running Western States, and it made me cry. So
I said my story began with a tragedy in a way. So I didn't come to the US because it was nice and fun and luxurious or a better opportunity. It happened because we were left by my parents with my mom's sister who passed away that was taking care of us. This is back in 1998. And so they want to talk to their university where they were doing their doctorate and master's degree. Can you help us get our two kids to join our third son with us here in the U.S.? My little brother was 4 at the time. The youngest, I was 6. Sister was 8 years old.
So both your parents were already in the United States?
Oh, he already is. Yeah. My dad came here in 95. Mother came 97 to join him with my little brother 4.
Okay. So she came with your little brother, and then you and your sister were left back.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I did have an older brother who was living with my grandmother in my mom's village. He was much older than us. Mm-hmm. So he was
And what village were you in? Can you tell us?
We were in Sigasso, in a town called Wailema. Wailema was the little town within Sigasso. Sigasso is a region in Mali. There's 14 regions in Mali, and Sigasso is one of them. And we went to school there. Within half the year of the school, she passed away, and we were homeless pretty much, because she was like the mother of the house, and her husband was always working and lifting, and he was not healthy either, so he couldn't take care of us. He had his own kids to look out for. So it's my cousin, who also recently passed away, was taking care of us. So at the time, me being young and ignorant, I thought she was an adult. She was a teenager taking care of 2 kids. Until my parents decided to kind of put pressure on their school. Well, my mom went to tell the story to one of her colleagues at the school, crying that 2 of her kids are left behind and her sister's not there to take care of them anymore. And they're like, you know what? We got to kind of put pressure on the university to kind of help sponsor so you can get here. So that's what happened 98 to 99. So we came here just for a year until they were done with their doctoral programs. And then we all moved back home. 99. I remember Y2K was a big topic. I'm young, but I'm old enough that I live in that time. Yeah. So we went back in 1999, December, right before Y2K. And then fast forward to 2002, my mom came back again to do a PhD, and we joined her a couple of years later. And we've been here since then.
Yeah. So your journey here was a tough one. And then when your time spent here, so you grew up as a teenager here, and then you decided to go to college here.
Yes, correct.
And where did you go to college?
I went to University of Massachusetts Amherst, UMass Amherst. You can't tell me that any school is better than that school. It's a biased thing. I love UMass. So much of my life changed over there going to Massachusetts.
Yeah. I mean, that's where you met Lex, right?
And our best friends, like we're still friends with those people till this day.
Yeah. I mean, they were on the crew.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
so I know we want to dive into your Western states, but the big question is going to be, Hellah went to UMass, was an incredible soccer player, people. He's a standout soccer player who was eventually signed as a pro athlete for the Sounders, right? Wasn't it the Sounders?
Yes. Yeah, I was with them and then on their affiliate team, Kitsap Pumas. So Sporting Kansas City was the one that had my rights because they wanted to draft me, but they had international issues. So the coach from Washington, Seattle, was there and he said, hey, let me have Hellah as a loan player and we'll give him back to you the following year once we help him even improve before we figure out all these visa issues that he's been dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so how did you go from professional soccer player to endurance athlete? Now I'm going to say like the biggest name, the biggest thing that most people know you for. You're one of few in the world, I would like to think, that has a run streak like you. You've had a running streak since 2017. So we're looking at over 6 years of running every single day. Every single day, people. That's like when you don't feel good, when you physically don't feel good, through everything. So how did you go from that? What was that transition like for you? What happened?
The Dagger was when everything was about not being able to play professionally because of my immigration status and not being a citizen, being denied visa to go to Germany when a big team wanted to have me train and play with them. When I was guaranteed a year contract, even playing wasn't guaranteed because you have to earn your playing right. But not having all of that, you bottle it in. It got to a point where I was just so mad. And looking back, I'm not a medical professional, but there was definitely signs of depression. I was always annoyed, always sad, always miserable, always taking my pen out on others, envy, jealousy when I see players where I played with in the past or having success playing with teams. And I know for a fact, I'm better than you. If I'm not better than you, we're at equal playing field. So if we're at least at equal playing field, why am I not there when you're there? So that really took a lot on me. And when you start being jealous of other people, it's a toxin that affects your body too. And it's not fair because I started telling myself, why am I mad at those people? Why am I jealous of them when they didn't do anything? They're trying to pursue the same dream I want. It's not their fault. So why don't you just stop that and just figure something else out? Why don't you stop making excuses and do something that you're in control of and hold yourself accountable and prove yourself right? So I started having those conversations with myself and I said, what are you afraid of actually? Like always do something when you're in a tough situation, go face a fear of yours and let yourself know that you're strong. So the fear thing was coming into my head. What is it? And it was running that I thought about immediately because playing soccer, we love it, but no one likes when you have to run. And even though the game is so much running, but when the coach said on the line, your heart drops.
Yes, it's so true.
When they say, put the balls away, practice is over. And then when they're like, we'll see you tomorrow, you're excited. But they're like, all right, we're going to do this fitness test. So I was afraid of running. It was installed in that way as a punishment for us at UMass. And our coach didn't even sugarcoat it. He said to us, you're not going to be the best team in the country. You're going to be the fittest team in the country. He always believed in that. So we ran like it was our job. We used the track and more than UMass track and field athletes. And they would even say, are you guys the track team or the UMass soccer team? You can't tell. You're always using our track. So I thought about running immediately. And I said, as an athlete, you want to do something enduring. So I said, let's face that 10 minutes a day, 2 weeks ago. Didn't even know run streak was a thing. I wanted to see if I can hold myself accountable. And within the first week, I fell in love with it. No one's yelling at me, pointing fingers at me. Spring was in the air. It was May. And with first week, I started doing more than 10 minutes, even though I knew 10 minutes was something that was attainable. It was better for me mentally to cope with, where I can get out there and do 10 minutes, even though I had more than that in me, but it was just safe because you don't want to do too much too soon. Fell in love with it. And then I ran to Bell actually within the end of 2 weeks. I said, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I can see myself doing this for the rest of my life. But I want to try every day for 1 year. And that's how the run streak continued till this day.
I want to pause you there because you said some really powerful things that I think are going to encourage our listeners. And that is always one of the things that I want to focus on in this podcast. I want people to finish this episode listening or knowing that they have a takeaway. They have something they can think about. They have something they can implement into their lives. And one of the things that is so powerful that you said is that you realize that jealousy jealousy was kind of eating away at you.
Yes, 100%.
Things that were out of your control were really frustrating your life and making you angry. And I'll tell you what, if I was in the same situation, this dream that I had built up to become a professional athlete, and I couldn't do it because a stupid visa was getting in the way, and I'm watching people who I outplayed, who I knew I was better than, living the dream that I had worked so hard for, that would crush most people. And for you to make a conscious decision to just basically it was just a moment on a regular day where you said, I can't let this continue to eat away at my life. I need to find another way. Where does that strength come from? Because that takes strength and courage to do that. Because I think right now we live in a world where people, when they're angry and they're resentful and they're bitter and they don't like what is happening, it's just, they take to social media and they just have a bitter platform. It's just, everyone owes me, the world owes me. And you don't operate that way.
Yes, I think it comes from my upbringing. I grew up in a third world country. People make less than $1 a day. So you started thinking in a perspective mindset. And I started saying, as bad as you have it right now, Hellah, your friends would want to be in your situation right now. And I know it's hard, but there's an opportunity, there's hope to live the American dream. Where they're at, that hope isn't even there. Even if the hope might not happen, but there's at least, when you have hope in the back of your mind, it's almost like I can fall back on a pillow. There's something that's going to be underneath me. And I'm hoping that pillow is there when I fall back, because there's a chance that there is versus there isn't at all when you know for sure isn't. So that helps a lot. But I think people also don't understand being an athlete. It's not just about, oh, I'm good at this. It's really preparing you and building a callus in your brain. And you may not know it at the time. And that's why I encourage people families to encourage their kids to be active. Don't force them, but introduce them to sports. They might like it. They might like it because it's helping a character, building them. So when they get to the real world, they're ready if something tough comes. All of that, having the right people around you kind of had me think that way too. You know what? It's time to make a decision. And I was thinking too, I had so much pressure. My friends were we all graduated. They all have like $50,000 a year job. I keep seeing it. They're buying homes, and I still am cutting grass to make ends meet because I don't have a real job. And that also is a pressure within itself. And you're thinking, man, how am I even going to survive? How am I going to make a living? So I said to myself, some of the best people who are the most successful people in this world, they were all dirt poor. They started from nothing. So having all that in the back of my mind, it's like, okay, you can get out of this. You can figure it out. So it was time to make a change. And I said, change start within yourself, because some of the excuses that I had is super valid. I had the best excuses, but I said, it's not changing me at all. It's not changing anything. Why don't I do something that will change me? So all of that came into factor. It was almost literally looking at myself in the mirror. I talk to myself a lot, and I get it from my grandfather, because I used to look at him when I was young and ask my dad, is he like, okay, why is he talking to himself? Like he would sit there, like shaking his head, whispering, having conversation. So I was having that conversation with myself and then realized, okay, let's do something to take a step forward. And I did that. And I'm so happy that I did. And it got me feeling that, you know, life could be really rough, but there could be a time where you can turn it around. It's never too late.
And I love that, because you touched on that word hope. And, you know, sometimes people think of that word as kind of like a foo-foo, frilly, word. But I think that hope is very different from, you know, the dreams that you, I guess maybe like being dreamy about something is like the dreams you have at night that are just like, oh, one day I wish, you know, I dream. Yes. But hope is so much more powerful. Hope is an action word that you expect. So hoping with expectation that I do expect that things are going to get better, but the only way that you discover that is by moving forward. It's by changing out of your situation. And so in 2017, was it like January 1st, 2017? Did you start at the beginning of the year, or how did that begin?
It was
for
actually,
you?
I say May 15th to people.
I love it.
But it was a couple days before that, but I just didn't use my watch, so I don't have proof of the couple days. But from May 15th, I do have proof. And it happened. It wasn't perfectly lit on May 15th, but I think it was like May 12th when I started this. It was just, I just got up and I said, let me go do it. I had Nike Roche runs, by the way, because it says Roche. It said Roche runs. I said, this might be a running shoe that has run title in it. And it was a lifestyle to me before that. So I just used that and ran in it. And I ran my first 250 days with that shoes. People used to comment,
Wow.
why are you doing this? It's not
What
a
are
running
you
shoe. I was
wearing?
like, it's comfortable. It works for me.
Yeah.
Until I discovered real running shoes. I'm like, whoa, I was missing out.
Yeah.
But
yes,
so I started.
That's amazing. I love that.
I officially started, I guess May 15, 2017. And
Okay.
I have the calendar too. I had a calendar. It was just 2 weeks and I put it behind our bedroom door. So every time I'm back from running, I check it.
I love
and it
that.
felt good.
You
when you
see
check
the
that,
progress.
that day felt so good.
Yes.
So I have all of that. So that's how it started.
Hellah, you kind of are disproving, and you're disproving this idea that, okay, I will start on Monday. I will start on January 1st. Most people think that they have to have like this official start day, but I love that you're like, May 12th. Like that's just, I just started on a random day. And I think that the best time to change, the best time to try something new is today, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow, right? Like,
nope.
Today is always the best day. So here we are now in June 2023. So you just celebrated 6 years, 7 years.
Yes. 7 years run streak.
6 years.
Last May.
6-year run streak. Yes. And so now 6 years of running every single day. Tell us, because I know everyone's questions are just like, we are listening and we're like, oh my gosh, I have so many questions. What is your minimum mileage that you have to achieve each day for it to matter to you?
It has
is it like
changed so much. In the beginning, I remember just going out and just went for time. I'll do loops. I get home like, whoa, 4 miles. Didn't even care to look. And then by January of 2018, from May 2017, average was 5 miles a day. And then to get to the year mark, I was averaging 7 miles a day. I did 2,800 miles that year. Yeah, and then year 2 came.
That's solid.
So year 2, I was like, okay, let's see if I can do this again. I know what to expect now. Nothing is new and surprising. I was injured, so I ended up running 1,700 miles. It was just less than 5 miles average daily during year 2. I spent almost half of the year running injured because I didn't want to tap out.
No
Yeah, and
way.
I didn't tell any of my audience. Year 3,
you felt like responsible. You felt like I need to keep this going.
I had to keep it to myself, and then had to keep it going. And then year 3 ran a lot more. So the daily average has ended up being today is just over is 7.6 miles. So just about 50 mile week average. But the average of year 1 was so good to me. I felt so good with 7 miles. Within the first 3, you're warming up. The last 4, my body just moves a lot better and comfortable.
Yeah.
So if I didn't get 7 miles in a day, I was not satisfied. It wasn't that I wasn't happy. I was not satisfied. I'll get out there to do a couple more miles. And I wanted to hold on to that so much. Year 2 humbled me with injury and I couldn't. So I started letting go of that expectation to do 7 miles a day and saying, let me just let go of what my body's telling me during year 3, because I was starting to lose the purpose of just doing this because I was happy and not holding on to numbers. So now the expectation for me for a minimum to count, it depends. It could be 2 or 3. So 2 was like when I had oral surgery, I had to get rid of a wisdom tooth that was going this way. A molar going up was blocking. The wisdom tooth was blocking a molar. So they got rid of the wisdom tooth, shaved the molar, and put an implant in one operation. So I went out there to do 2 miles the next day after doing that surgery. But the doctor told me, we know your pain tolerance is fine. Don't be out there too long because of the blood pressure. You're going to be bleeding continuously. So I got out there and did 2 miles the next couple of days after that. And when I was extremely injured, I went from a 16-mile week to 21 to 14. So those days I would do 2 miles a day. But if I feel fine, I like 3 miles. So since Western State, I've done 3 miles till today, and I'm going to do 3 miles later today. So 3 miles is what I would prefer. But if it's really bad, I'll go down to 2. But the average has been over 7.6 miles in the course of 6 years.
Have you ever had a day where you almost missed it? Like it was because of a flight or like
you were
barfing your brains out?
I never put myself in that situation, because when you have a goal where like it's so important to you, it does not matter. I have to get it done first. So this is you're going to officially hear this term for the first time ever. I talk about this with Belle. There's hangry. Mine is rangry. She sees me. So this
#rangry, guys. They're not getting the run in.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes. She would be like, you didn't run. Can you go run? Because you're not yourself. And it changes me. When I go run, it really changes me. So you heard it here on the Too Strong podcast, Rangry. #Hellah, good term. Yes. So I
I
don't
love
miss
it.
I don't ever get close. In fact, I run so early in the morning sometimes when I travel to do things that it's such a long day. It feels like 2 different days. At 11 p.m., I freak out looking at the time. Oh, did I run today? Because
Yeah.
that's how early I get it out the way. It's always a priority. When I have a trip, before I hop on a flight, I get a run in. When I know the day is going to be long, I get a run in. It's just something that is so important to me. It has to be done first. It's number one. And if you see me
It's so
wait
true.
later on, it's because I know I'll get it done. And
Yeah.
my watch never changes. I'm on East Coast time. It's 4:33
Yeah.
p.m. But it's not
4:30.
that in the
Yeah.
West Coast. West Coast is
Yeah.
1:33. So I'm still always on East Coast time. I always make sure I get it done before it's midnight back home. So it's always
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. Well, I wanted to touch on that. I know I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but I have to touch on how important your run streak is too, because
Yes.
when we were doing the pre-race meeting for your Western States race, you brought that up. You brought up
Yes.
the run streak, and we know that you run with 4 watches. You're always kind of testing out those watches and how they
Yes.
keep up and the data and all that, which is so fascinating too. But one of the things that you had said was, I need to make sure, because we knew that, we're going to be running at least for 24 hours.
Yes.
I have to make sure that my watch reflects that. So one of the watches was dedicated to
keeping the run streak alive.
To keeping the run streak. And you and I were actually pacing together at this time. So I had picked you up from Green Gate, mile 80. And it was really interesting because even while you were running, people are coming up next to you and saying, "What's the run streak day?
Yes.
Like, how many days are you in? Like, what's this?" Like, I was like, wow, like people know you for that. People like to know the number. And you knew right away, I'm on number,
Yes.
But just a few hours before that, when we were at Forest Hill, I think that we may have been. Oh no! I think it was Green Gate where you picked up the new watch.
Yeah,
because we by that time it was 2:30 in the morning, and so you were like, okay, time to put on the new watch.
Yeah, so I told my watch died by mile 55, one of the watches, and I give it to Belle. Can you chart this so the next time I see you, you give it to me, and it'll be past midnight in the East Coast, and I can start a new run there for my run streak. And I want the run streak to be always recorded on one of the watches, no matter what happens. And the other one, if they get it, that's just extra. So it's important to me. And even the race thing, I'm always saying I want to finish strong and fast, but I want to finish healthy because I got to run the next day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think I had told you, I was like, the good thing is you've already run Saturday and Sunday. So you will get like a handful of hours to rest before you run on the Monday. But you kept it going in the race. But I think my comment was to you, and I think I even got this on the GoPro footage or on my phone footage I sent to you yesterday. But I just said, if that's not commitment to a goal, I don't know what is. So regardless of what it is that you're committing to, the ability that we have to stay disciplined and focused and committed to a goal day after day after day. I mean, that just says so much about your character, Hellah.
Thank you.
And also what's possible for us, because I know a lot of our listeners, that is one of the greatest frustrations is I started out on this journey, I started out on this goal, and then life happened and I feel frustrated. And then we turn inward and we beat ourselves up for it. We beat ourselves up because it's just not working out, or it doesn't look the way that I want it to be, or it's not, I'm not strong enough. I'm not good enough. So I'm just going to let go of it. And I think that that was one of the why I asked you, do you have a minimum number of mileage? And I love that you've given yourself grace to see that change throughout the year.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be 20 miles a day. It's just that I need to get something. I need to get a run in.
Something in.
What, no matter what it looks like. And I think that's really powerful.
Thank you. Yeah, I said if there's a will, there's a way. It might not be the way that you want, but there's a way. For example, you being with me for Western State, I wanted to have 24 hours, but it wasn't the way I wanted. But there was a way to get the race done because the will was there for it. So it wasn't how I wanted it, but I had to find the way that I was presented with to get it done. So you always got to just put one foot in front of the other and not keep giving up, because if life goes the way we all plan, I think we would love it, but it'll also be boring. It won't be exciting. We might be like, oh, this is how I said it and it worked out perfectly. Sweet. Once in a while, we might get lucky like that. But if it's all the time like that, the thrill of everything we do is not going to be the same. That's how I personally feel about it. So it's what we get thrown at, how we fix that and keep moving forward. You're a perfect example of that. Even like with your your 250 that you just did, Cocodona, with your foot, what you had to deal with in the very beginning stage. You're not in the middle of it or toward the end, the very beginning. Someone wrote a comment on one of the posts when I had my feet issue, and they said, imagine having Sally next to you and you want to complain about your blister. I was laughing so hard. I was like, I know I couldn't say much about the blisters. I just focused on the Achilles. So just that itself. There's a will for you.
True.
So you find a way to keep moving forward. And it wasn't the way you wanted. Who wanted a blister like you had? Yours is wound, not even blister. Like you find a way to wounds. Get it done. So yeah. So I think that's what it's all about. You just have to find a way to get it done, even if it's not the way that you want.
Well, I think that is really powerful as we transition into talking about your race, is just knowing that 10 years ago, Hellah, you would have never ever expected to be where you are today. And I don't think a lot of people know what a massive influence you have. I learned even more about you, that you travel around and you speak to huge corporations and massive, crowds of people. Your story is so inspiring. You do have a huge YouTube following, a big following. If you guys don't follow, Hellah Good is his handle name that he goes by. But it really is incredible that you've taken a big heartbreak from soccer and what you are doing today. I mean, I'm going to gamble and say that this is so on a much greater scale than soccer 100%. Could have ever taken you.
Yeah, I would have been retired probably right now if I played, because the soccer career age is getting a little better, but like that's a small percentage. So I would have probably been done already. And this is like, I'm just getting started with this career.
Absolutely. And it's so diverse, like all the things that you do. It's like you have your hands in so many different things. And I love that. And I think at the end of the day, you always go back to encouraging people. Like all your platforms are just so encouraging and bright. So we want to know, how is it that you got yourself to Western States? I know you and I both, you ran your qualifying race at Leadville 100, which Hellah kicked my butt on that with so much
she was
joy.
Weak.
I was
You're going to make me look good. I'll take it. She just did so many 100-mile races and her knee was shot and everything. She chose strong. She was not going to quit. But I said that to Belle today. I said, literally, the thing about Sally is so different. So many elites who go to do this, when they hit that, the pride in them or like whatever it is, they're like, okay, I'm going to stop. I said, Sally did not care. I can't assume for everybody. She's like, I don't care how long it takes me. I put myself in this, I'm going to finish. I just have to get it done and get it finished. And you didn't have to do that. So Leadville was what got me to qualify for Western States. And I got the BIPOC entry. So people who don't know what BIPOC is, it's Black Indigenous people of color. So that's the entry spot that I got from Hoka. And they offered it to me and I couldn't say no to it. So, that's how I started.
A huge opportunity, but also you have worked very hard to earn that spot. So you have trained, you did the qualifier. I mean, you've done everything. You're an amazing representative. I mean, I know, and also Hoka is your sponsor.
Yes.
You are an incredible athlete, Hellah. So
thank you.
To see you out there with so much joy and so much appreciation to be there, because we all know a lot of people wait for a long time to get to Western States. And man, you didn't take a single step for granted. And it was just so awesome to see that journey. But we want to just kind of hear what were your thoughts from day one before the race all the way through. Let's kind of go through your journey of that race and just what it was like for you.
So when I found out that I got in, I couldn't believe it. I want to listen to Born and Run again because I know they mention it. So the first time I listened to that book, I was more focused on Leadville. This time I was like, okay, let me go see what they talked about Western State being the oldest full race, arguably, whatever, how you look at it as. And seeing how tough it is and seeing videos, I started creeping on everybody on YouTube, yourself, Sally, everybody, because I feel like I'm a student of the game and I respect that there's level to this. No matter how long you've been running Hellah, there's people who've been doing it longer and there's a level that people put themselves through for way longer than you. So if you're a student of the game, that's the only way you're going to find yourself to be the best version of yourself. So I started like doing research, talking to you about it and asking all the questions, things that I have to do to be best prepared. I went to the camp. We talked about heat trainings, hiking, which I needed to work on. So I did everything I could. So when race day come, I won't be like, why didn't I do enough? So I did not feel at all.
Well, you flew to Arizona, right?
Yes.
I mean, didn't you fly to Arizona?
Yeah. Yes,
because
you
live
degrees.
You live on the East Coast.
Yes.
So you're in Jersey, right?
Yes, correct.
And so you flew out for the camp at the end of the May, and then you flew to Arizona to heat train. So you were taking the training incredibly seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, I never at one point during this race that I felt like I didn't do enough to be ready for it. In fact, I was so happy that I prepared for the worst case scenario. And as you started this climb. It's just like, it brought Hope Pass back to right away. Hope Pass feeling in the beginning. But I just said, you know what? Yeah, I'm like, maybe I'd rather tackle Hope Pass at a fresher leg right now. So it's not too bad. But I said this jokingly, but not really joking. I said there was like 8 Hope Passes during Western State course. And then 3 of them being the beginning, and then the 2 canyons that comes at you. The Devil's Thumb is so steep, and then there's another one after that. It's not as steep, but it's so much longer, so it feels like it's steep too because you're on it for a longer duration amount of time. But it was everything that people were saying and more. Just the energy surrounding the race, the athletes that are out there, and you're on the same course as them, and you're going through the same things, same terrains. Nothing is different or special. It's just
tell us about the terrain, because it was the 5th coldest in the history of Western states. It's been around for 50 years. And I think I had said to you, I don't know very many people that had to endure the first 30 miles of terrain like you did. It was nothing short of tumultuous.
It was awful. It was icy, snow. And I keep joking, you got to have, I said, whatever pain you go through is a beautiful pain. Smile through the pain. And you got to joke. I kept talking about, I just need ice skates right now at one point. It was so icy. It was so snowy. Okay, I need my snow boots now. I need a rope so I can rock climb because this is not natural running. I need some harness just in case I start falling backward. So
and people were falling all over the place.
I got some fun footage on my GoPro. At one point, I started sliding like a sled because this is the only way. You got to sit on your butt and just slide down and have fun with it. So it was a lot of ankle instability. You're feeling muscles you never felt in a long time because the terrain was like, oh, you forgot this muscle exists in your body. What? Here it is. So it was a lot of that in the beginning. And the race itself is just, I think that this is a Hellah's perspective. I would say that it is a little more difficult than Leadville. Not to take away anything from Leadville. Leadville is insanely hard, altitude and everything. But for how much prepared I was for this compared to how I was for Leadville, I handled Leadville a lot better with the preparation I had. Versus this, I was extremely prepared. And I know I had some injuries that delayed me, but I can still see the difficulty within the race. And I was much fitter this time around. It's a different game. It really is. And it's
a lot
evenly
of different
spread.
Variables.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it is net down, but it's so evenly spread in terms of difficulty. Even with that net down, you still got to get up. So it's spread well. It's not like you get chunk of it the first half, it's easy, or vice versa. It's like you get chunk of it, a little off. You get another chunk in the middle, a little off. Yes. You get another chunk again. That's what I was like, there's 8 hope passes on this thing. I'm like, are you kidding me? And you get off of the river, Rocky Chucky. You're climbing like this for 1.5 miles.
For almost 2 miles.
Yeah. I'm like, I just got off of this river. I'm like, this is cool. Oh, you better start climbing not to see your crew. It was just like, it never ended. It never ended.
I know. Yeah. Yes. It's a deceiving course because you see how fast people run it too.
Yes.
And so you're thinking like the front people that are winning, right? Like 14, 15, 16 hours, you're like, how is that? Like, did you have rockets on your shoes? Like, what
some
is
kind
that?
Of boost or something that we need to know about.
Right. Well, and Hellah, you are incredibly fit. You ran a 3-hour Boston Marathon just a couple months before Western States, which we know that you're a sub 3-hour marathoner if you stop taking pictures with everybody in the middle of the race. We won't talk about that right now, but
that's another story.
But when you put like a sub 3-hour marathoner on the Western States course, there are sections of this course where foot speed is key and you really can hammer. You came in to about, I think it was like mile 40 or something like that, and realized that your Achilles was not going to let you do that.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about some challenges that you knew, all right, this is going to change my finishing time. This is going to change my experience.
One other thing I learned about being a trail, being out there in the ultra world, which I'm still trying to learn and get better with it. When a small problem happens, you got to attend to it immediately. So I felt a little tiny blister on my toe before I saw you guys at Robinson Flat. And I told you guys about it. We kind of put tape over it and it was fine. My feet got wet again. And before I saw you guys at Michigan Bluff, which is at mile 55, that blister got worse and the bottom of my feet got worse with that. And I could barely put any pressure on, whether it was flat or downhill. And forget about the downhill where my toes were getting jammed super hard against my shoes. And when I saw you guys, the feet was like completely so sensitive. And I just saw some images of it even getting touched. And I was actually, my face can tell. And I can see Bill squeezing my bicep just to get my attention away from that. Yeah. And that was kind of caught on camera too. So I was thinking to myself, when I sat down there and you were telling me, you're really good at this. You said, you're fine, you're good. And that was good to hear because people have to be able to convince you. So you convince yourself, I am good to go. Even though it's painful, I was nervous till I stood up after they wrapped it. I was like, ooh, good. Because I do not, no matter what happened, I'm not going to tap out on this race. And I was thinking to myself, even if you're literally behind the 30 hour, go finish by yourself. Even if the finish line is taken away, it's not there anymore. You're still going to get to complete that 100 miles, even if it takes you longer than what they're giving you. So when I got up and everything was put together, stepped in with Brandon, one of the pacers, and it was really cool moment where I saw all of you guys. It was exciting. I saw Belle started moving, and the support from you guys, it gives you another life, and you start saying, you know what, I can do this, no matter what pain I'm going through. Everything was good until a little later, and then I felt Achilles kick in, and I said no, because downhill, I love the downhill, I love the flats. That's where I can make up time. I've never had any issue with those areas, and where you are not being able to take advantage of the part that helps you, compared to the area that slows you down a little bit. So started feeling that really bad, and I got nervous because I had an injury, a history with that when I was running across America. And it was like, you can hear almost like crunchiness, like feeling. And I'm thinking to myself, if you pop this thing right now, forget about Western State. Your run streak is over. And I told myself, I said, if this comes to a point where it's going to compromise my run streak, it's not that I'm tapping out. I would sit out in DNF because I have something that's more true to me for my heart than anything else. But I told myself also, stop thinking like that, Hellah. Why are you thinking like that? None of that has happened right now. Why are you putting yourself in that energy? So I stopped thinking about it until we saw for you to jump in as a pacer. And I told you, you work my ankle in certain ways. And I love how you were talking to me because you said, do you feel it this way? I said, nope. Do you feel it this way? I said, nope. And then you said, you know what? You're good. You're just going through pain. So it's not something too concerned to be worried about. And I needed to hear that. So I'm like, you know what? It's discomfort. It's not something that can tear on me right now. So that changed my body language. And I guarantee the mindset that let some toxic, release some chemicals into my body saying, you know what? You're not going to tear it. It's just discomfort. So that slowed the whole race down a little bit. And it took me away from focusing on 24 hours to trying to finish this thing as strong as possible. And it doesn't matter. You're not going to use injuries as an excuse to not finish this.
Well, what's interesting is that when you came into Robinson Flat, which was just completely out of the snow, everyone had to slow down in that section. So that's mile 30.
Yes,
you
correct.
came in you left at the 30-hour mark. So as time went on, you got blisters, you got this Achilles, like intense pain, and your feet were the product also of being wet in the snow for so long. So like for our listeners to understand, the bottom of his feet, the skin, the way that the medical was explaining it, the skin was like separating, like you had like these layers of skin, and just the positioning in your foot was causing a lot of pain. So you did have a lot of pain down there. But what was so amazing is that you then ran faster the second half you finished in 27, just under 27 and a half hours.
Yes.
And so you actually picked up time. You ran ahead of that mark. You left at the 30-hour mark, and then you ended up finishing 2.5 hours earlier than projected. So you are your mental fortitude is so powerful because you just chose, despite all of that, I'm going to keep pushing. And I know that you ran with Brandon Forest Hill. What was it like for you crossing over in the boat, that iconic crossing over the American River?
It was so cool. I was actually like, thank goodness it's a boat this time because it wasn't sunny when we got there. Because imagine if we had to get to that river. That water was freezing.
Water was freezing.
So cold. So if it was waist deep, we would have been in trouble because it's not like a little tiny cross. You would be holding the rope for a while. So I was happy. So I told people, well, I can't say I ran a whole 100 miles because a little bit of this has been on water. So that was my joke at it. But it was really cool how quick they got us across. If you were like trying to win this thing, it wouldn't have slowed you down by much. They really got you. They were so efficient. Next thing you know, you were across it, and then another hill comes at you. So you almost kind of wish that the boat lasted a little longer.
Yeah, because you're like, on to the next.
On to the next one, yes.
Yeah. And that's where I picked you up. So I picked you up at Green Gate. For those listening, it's like 79.8. I just say it's 80 mile. 80. It was about 2:30 in the morning. So we were in the middle of the night. This is usually the time when Hellah's body likes to sleep. Yeah. It doesn't like to be running.
It's actually my normal bedtime.
Yeah. That's what you were saying. But here's the thing. You just brushed over it so quickly. But Hellah ran across the United States. Yes. So you know what it feels like to run on tired legs, to run continuously very long miles. What year did you do that? Was it 21?
In 2021. I started March 1st, 2021, finished May 23rd, 2021. So it was 84 days, 3,061 miles.
Absolutely incredible. What you did running across America, do you feel like that has always helped you in all of your running endeavors now?
1,000%. After that, I was not afraid of any distance to 100. I was like, what? Because I know I only have to do that for a small amount of time. This one was every single day for 80. It was the longest 84 days of my life. It felt like it was a whole year. And then 2 years just happened like that after it was over. Because it's just such a long, enduring repeat. Same thing, same routine over and over. So that made me less nervous when it came to Leadville, and it made me less nervous for Western State. Not because I didn't think that it would be easy. I definitely wasn't a fool about that. But because I knew how to work the game in a way where I can be a little more conservative, or I can kind of hold back a little bit, or I know that when things go really tough, you can kind of turn it around and it's still be uncomfortable, but there's hope to figure out a way to finish it. So that experience definitely helped a lot with these two races.
Mm-hmm. So when we got you at mile 80, when we started pacing, you had 20 miles to go. Yes. And you were in this pain, and you have running across America is something that you can always go back to. I'll tell you what, running with you was complete joy for me the entire time. And I never expect that. Like when I pace people, I'm like, dude, you can literally tell me to shut up or to be quiet, or like,
I'm like, no, you
don't. Yeah. But like you were such a joy the entire time. Now I know there was a couple times that I was like, I'm going to be quiet and you're going to work through this pain. And I'm just going to we're going to take 5 minutes. You're going to do your thing. And you're like, okay.
Yes. I just listened. So my coach in high school would be like, literally come to me because he was trying to throw me off. And he told me literally, last year, he would come to me and say, Hellah, the sky is orange. I would just say, yes, coach. I don't argue. And he told me actually the story that he wanted to make me not smile for once. He wanted to break me. He said, he was crying to me. He said, I was picking on you on purpose. To see if you would break, and you wouldn't. I would go yell at you for something that you didn't do wrong to see if it would break you. And he would go to the assistant coach and said, I just tried to do it with Hellah. He just accepted and listened. And he said, I can't believe it. And then he just told me this story in front of his 8th grade class last year. And I was like, oh, that was why you were doing it, to see if you can break me. But I understand that, because you do have to understand people who are in the position that they're at is because they've experienced it. They're better at you. Just because they're better than you, it doesn't mean that you're awful. It just means that you got to be smart enough to listen to them. So you telling me something, I said, okay, because you're there for my best. So if I start arguing with you, someone who's there to help you, if you start arguing with them, you're not taking advantage of their help. Like, why would they even want to help you? So you do not want them to feel at one point, I regret this. At one point, I don't want to help you. So whatever they tell you, you trust them enough. That's why you want to ask. So trust that and then let them do their thing. And some at your caliber, come on. When people heard that you were going to pace me, they're like, how the heck did you make this happen? And for me, it was a pride in me. You cannot have Sally be part of the crew and not finish this race. There's no excuse about it. If I had to crawl and get there in 30 hours, I had to crawl. So there's a lot of things in my mind. So all you have to tell me what to do. I like to be instructed. Is the coaching of me being coached my whole life. You tell me and I'm going to say, okay, and let's make it happen. So that's where that came from. When you told me that, I just said, yes, we got to do it. It's the only way.
Well, that takes a lot of trust too, because I know, it's sometimes people have pacers that they don't know that well. Sometimes they'll be like, yeah, can you just pace me? I don't really know you that well. Or sometimes like pacers, they just don't do a great job. Sometimes they just like talk too much or they're distracted or they get you lost. And, you really are putting your trust in a someone. Pacer. Yeah. Yes. And for me, I just thought about, I know how hard you work, and I feel like when I have the opportunity to pace someone who is so dedicated and disciplined as you, and my heart was like so heavy, and I think I even told you that a couple of times. I was like, I know how bad you're hurting. Like my heart is like heavy, telling you to like that we're gonna do a run interval right now. Yes. But like I was also keeping at the forefront of my mind how much your goal meant to you. Yes. And I think that it's just different. It's different when you pace someone that's like, all I care about is just getting to the finish line, as opposed to someone that's like, I trained every single day. I dedicated like 6 months to this. And when we're tired and when our body is breaking down, it's kind of easy to lose sight of that. And so I just kind of took on this role of like, I'm just going to give these little reminders of who you are, but I don't think you really needed me at the end of the day, to be honest. Like you were such a joy.
I needed you for sure.
But I have to let the audience know when Hellah and I got to Pointed Rock. So this is 6.5 miles from the finish line.
Yes.
I did this when in my own race in Cocodona. It just helps keep focus. It's just changing pace, but to keep moving. And Hellah was he was hurting pretty bad, but he told me, Sally, I know I'm not doing it in under 24 hours, but I do. We are doing this in under 28 hours. Like he was so. We
gotta beat Leadville. I gotta beat Leadville, and I keep whispering to you. There's a certain time that I need to beat.
Yes.
Now.
and I was like, okay, well, we are running intervals all the way to the finish line. And we did. Yes. I kid you not. We did anywhere between 30-second all the way up to 2-minute intervals for 6.5 miles all the way to the finish line. And Hellah was spot on. Like I'd be like, all right, you get to rest for a minute. And he would say, okay. I'm like, are you ready? I'm counting you down in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. 60 seconds, go. And he'd go, okay.
That was it.
The entire I couldn't believe it. I was like in my mind thinking, I'm like, would I want someone doing this to me? Would I be like, okay, stop?
I knew if I didn't do that, the time was that time was gonna start slipping away. So I didn't want it to slip away.
Well, you hammered. And because of that, you came in well under 28 hours. And, it wasn't like we were right there. It was, it was pretty incredible what you did despite the great discomfort. And so let us know, Hellah, was it more than you thought it would be? I mean, as far as the experience goes, are you still processing it? Is this something that you'd want to do again?
So it was everything that I thought it'd be. And I think, not because I didn't think it was hard, because I watched the whole experience with you guys and I saw the difficulty to the fullest, the worst heat scenario, and I expected nothing less of that. So that was really good for me. But in terms of the time, and I told Lex Bell here last night, I said, man, you could not fool me to tell me after this training that I was going to do this a little slower than 24 hours. I was so confident because when you train, and I knew my body was different, I kept telling you, even at Robinson Flat, my hiking game is so much better. It's so much stronger because I used to get so lactic burn going up these hills. I didn't feel any of that, whether I push hard or let off a little bit. So I was confident in that, and certain things happen that are out of your control, that are part of the game. It's never perfect when you do a race. Even if you think it is, there's certain everybody, even the winner, Courtney, like course record, shout out to her. If you go talk to her, she might be like, oh, maybe at some point this happened there, but look how she still crushed the course record, you know? So you just have to, I just had that mindset. So the expectation was everything as I expected, because I kept in my mind the worst case scenario for this race. And overall, it was something where when you're finished, you're like, okay, well, I'm one and done. Because you're like, okay, this is over. But a couple of days now, I'm like, it might not be next year or whatever, but I might take another year off and then try to do another qualification race and find my way in if it's possible. But it does make you think that experience will help, because I'm thinking if we were to do this, we were talking about it this morning, I would tape my feet in a way where the skin doesn't, it's almost like squeezing underneath each other because it was so wet and it's creating this cut. Or like, would I tape the bottom of my feet ahead of time, or would I would do my best to avoid rivers, which sometimes you can't, without having extra socks and shoes in my back, the back pouch, where as soon as I get out, I'm going to take that towel out, wipe my feet dry, and sit down for 5 minutes, which isn't going to hurt me, and put something new on at that point. So you start thinking all these things that can help you be a little better to avoid, because I never thought about this situation at all. I was thinking about, don't blow your quads out because you get too carried away on the downhills. And that wasn't, my quads are not even sore till this day, because they didn't get to get beat up the way I wanted it to be beat up. So I'm curious about it, but I'm happy right now. I said I don't go look for stuff, they find me. So if somehow again Western State find me, maybe I'll do it. But if I don't ever get to do it again, I'm completely satisfied and happy with how things went.
Well, you can always celebrate that you are a Western States finisher, and you have a buckle. You have that iconic Western States buckle that so many people dream about. And I'm so proud of you, Hellah. I mean, you really put yourself out there. You dedicated yourself to the training. And I just love all the encouragement that you have outside of, it wasn't what I hoped. My body didn't feel the way I hoped it would with the Achilles and the blisters, but you still gave 110% effort. I mean, like I said, doing intervals all the way to the end just to get the best time you possibly could. That was incredible. You probably could have walked. I mean, I had told you that. I think by the time we came into mile 90.
If you walked this, you still had 7 hours to finish. You would definitely finish this many miles in that. Yes, you were telling me that.
And I think people are tempted by that. When you are hurting so much, it's easy to be like, you know what? I'm just going to find where I'm most comfortable. And you never did. You weren't looking to where you could be the most comfortable. You were like, I want to get the best out of myself, even when I'm hurting this much.
Yes. And you did save me from myself at one point, and I think that's important. When we got up to at mile 99, got up the last hill,
Roby.
Some rolling hill. Yeah. So we got to Roby, and
tell people about that climb. Can you help people understand? I don't think people understand the last 2 miles of that.
Oh, there's not much left. I'm almost there. And then this hill comes at you. And it's a nice quick little switch. And you just keep climbing. It's almost like Western State, whoever picked this course, was like, let's just make you a little miserable one last time before you get the hype getting on the track. And it just drains you. And there's a reason they have an aid station on top over there. But when I got there, they're like, do you want anything? I was like, no, I don't want any drink. I don't want anything. I just gotta keep going. I'm not stopping.
Don't
I just suffered right there.
Yeah.
I need to just go. But that was awful. And when I got over that, I wanted to open it up because I love being on the roads. Roads feels like home again. Yeah. And I know there's some rolling hill at that point. But as I'm trying to pull, I feel, when a cramp is about to come in and you let off and it kind of backs off. Both calves.
In the calves.
And I keep telling Sally, I want to open it up. And cramp would come in. And one time I tried to, again, you were really good. You came to me and you said, hey, Hellah, we got to make sure you can run on that track. So don't do anything stupid right now. And then you compromise that. And it was so true. So that was really good. If I didn't have someone to tell that in my ear, sometimes ego will test you. I wanted to still try, even though I felt this cramp coming. I still wanted to see is it really going to come in? But it was there. So you told me to just do a little small shuffle, land underneath my hip, which helped for me to move without having to walk at all, but also prevented the cramp 100%. And when I got to the track, I was able to pick up the pace a little bit, but I couldn't really go all out kind of thing with whatever energy I had left. But it was good because you need to have people to save you from yourself because you can self-destruct. And that's also important. So you do have to have the right people around your corners because that helped me to get to the finish line even faster because I might think if I open it up, that'll get there faster. But that cramp, if that were to come in, I've experienced calf cramps, I would be probably sitting there for the 5 minutes being wasted to knot it out. And then when I do that, I'll start walking before I can even start running. And that adds another 20 minutes that I didn't have to worry about that because I listened to you and I just kind of let my body. So you do need savings, and thank you for saving me from myself because our ego can do some damaging as well. So we got to be very mindful about that. But the last track, when you get on that track, that energy, I want to relive that moment over and over.
Right.
That section, it's the fastest 400 meter. Even though you weren't running fast, it just goes so quick because like so much joy, the cheer, that you can hear your name on the speaker.
Yeah.
And everybody that's the crowd, your crew, everybody just genuinely happy for you. You just want to keep reliving that moment. That was unreal. For sure.
Yeah. And I knew it was going to be that way because when we were running, our good friend, Billy Yang,
shout out to you, Billy.
Yeah. He was in the media booth and he was commentating to the live feed and I knew he was. So I got on my phone when we were like a half mile out. He kept on, actually for like the last like 2 miles, he kept on saying, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Yes. Like he wanted to make sure that your entrance into that, into the stadium, that everyone knew about that. But so I knew that. And when you started cramping up, I was like, no, like I promise you're going to want to run on the track. Like, let's not like blow it up right here because once you enter that track, the crowd is going to go crazy. The live feed is going to go crazy. And I know how much Billy loves you and he wanted to see you finish strong too.
Yeah, he's so cool. And he paid attention to everything. He does his signature wing. Like he made me look even cooler than I am. He knows.
He knows, and he knows how hard you work too. I mean, we were both so stoked when we heard that you were coming to run Western States, and we've had conversations about you before. We're just like we need more people like Hellah in our sport. Who you are such a humble athlete, and I think people who work hard with humility and you're always shining on others. It really brings back the heart of the sport, and it's about community. It's about
100%.
the journey. And I think you help people understand that it isn't about the finishing time. It isn't about how many miles you run. I know that you've run every day, but I love that you are so gracious with yourself. It's like, if you can get out for a mile, that's amazing. If you get out for 20 miles, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I tell people I learned about this Run Streak Association a couple of years ago.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And I was like, okay, cool. So one of the guy went to comment on a post of mine and said that, this is awesome. If it's not a mile though, it doesn't count as a streak according to the Run Streak. And I was like, I disagree with that because some people, their full capability could be just running 5 minutes at a time. They can't connect a mile. So who are we to go tell them that it doesn't count? Some people are literally physically incapable of running a certain distance or the minimum requirement. If they can run for 30 seconds at a time, it's just a different way. So how am I going to go tell them that doesn't count, but they're literally giving everything they got? So it's not fair. So I'm always aware of that. And I tell people too, you do not have to go run across America to be important or run 100 miles to feel like you belong or you mattered. So someone's 2 mile might be their run across America. Someone 10 mile might be their 100 mile race. So as long as you're getting out there and putting one foot in the other and just having a good time and being better version of yourself and changing yourself, there's no place like it. And I have so many people who are fans of me and I love that they can kick my ass any day. Yeah. I love that because I don't have to be the best at it. I just have to be the best version of myself from where I started till today. So it's not about, don't feel that if you're slower than me, that you can't come run with me, or if you're faster than me, because no matter how fast you think you are, guess what? There's someone faster. And no matter how slow you think you are, there's someone slower. So just go do your thing and keep moving forward. And that's it. Yeah.
I love that. And I'm actually going to wrap it up on that because that's just like make me well up with tears. And I think that's the good word that everyone needs to hear. Hellah, you are such an inspiration to so many. And I know I've told you over and over again.
I witness it all the time, especially when you would to people. Sorry, I know this is the podcast you're talking about me, but it just can't help it. Can't help it.
Okay, we're gonna pause there. We're gonna stop there, Hellah.
I do honestly. I feel so cool though. To tell you, like the way people come around you too, they love your energy and what you do. I'm like, yeah, I know her. Yep. So yeah, she's on my crew. So
and
I
then
do
you
have
can
that.
fall by saying she's actually not that cool. I know her.
No. She is.
Yes.
She is exactly how you see it. Literally, you are exactly how you see it. There's no
likewise.
behind the camera difference. No, you're exactly it. And I met people myself too who are not the same people they show portrayed. And I think showing real, even if you go through tough times, is really good because people have to know that nothing is perfect. Perfection is a word that we use, but your perfection is who you are right now because you're just trying to improve and evolve. So you are exactly how you see it. It's not scripted, guys. I'm telling you. If you don't believe it, come hang out with us one day.
I appreciate that. Seriously. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate that. And I know, Hellah, I've told you so many times, I so appreciate you being my friend. You're a true friend. And I know you and I have a lot of very real conversations off the mic. I feel like you and I can relate to each other so 100%. Much in ways that not a lot of people understand. And it's just nice having a friend like you that, that we can kind of work through some things together. And it's just, I'm so grateful for you. But I know we have a lot of fun adventures ahead in store. And I'm just so grateful that we finally got to connect back in 2021 and that we were able to share this adventure. I have to share the really quick side note because I said in Leadville, Hellah absolutely kicked my tail. But like he actually saved me too because I was coming off into this big aid station. It was about 26 miles from the finish line. And I was like a mile and a half or 2 miles from the aid station. And I had been falling. I was really dizzy. I was puking. I was in I couldn't get warm. My body was revolting because yes, I did 335 miles of racing in 30 days. And it was not smart because one of them was bad water. my knee was, I was in a very bad, I was not taking care of Sally, but, at this point, I knew that I was going to be getting close to the aid station with like a mile and a half, and I can hear Hellah coming up behind me. And your running stride is so distinct, and so is your energy and your voice. But it was like legit, Sally. Like 2. Yeah, you were. But it was like 2 a.m.
Was so bright. I knew it was you.
It was like 2 a.m. and he comes up, he passes me, and you and your pacer are having a talk as if it was like 8 a.m. You just had a cup of coffee and you had so much joy. And I remember telling myself, because I was in such a bad way, I was swaying on the trail, and I kept telling myself, just follow Hellah's voice, like just follow Hellah's voice. And that's what I did. Like I just focused on your voice and like your joy all the way into that aid station. I mean, I never saw you again after that. I think you finished like an hour and a half ahead of me or something like that. But I thought it was just like so funny that we had kind of come like full circle. The day before he was coming to me, this is the humble Hellah that he is. He was coming to me and like asking me so many questions about the race because it was his first 100. And so he's like, I'm going to ask Sally the pro. And yet here I am hanging onto the back of you, trying to like survive in the race. And I was like, no, now I'm the one that's like, Hellah, help me.
I think
so you
this
help
is
me
what's
get to the
amazing though. You got to be a student of the game. You got to be a student. Yeah. And then you are a great person. Being a pro, you gave me a tip. You could have easily been like, why would I tell him anything? This is a competition. You sign up for this. I'd be like, well, yeah, good luck. You don't want to tell all your basketball. So that was nice for you to say some things to me. And hearing from you literally was like, okay, drop this time expectation. This is your first 100 miles. Drop it. Yeah. Literally dropped it. And I saw you before I went to 50. You were leaving already. And you're like, you got time before the cutoff. Get in there and get out. And seeing you when I was like, Sally.
I know, we were both so happy.
Like, Sally, I see you. I needed some joy. I was saying, hope I just kicked my butt. I never dealt with that in my life.
So Leadville's horrible because you go, it's not horrible, but it's like, it really does kick your butt in a way you don't think. You go up Hope's Pass and the turnaround 50 Mile Point is on the back side of it. So that aid station, I was coming out of that aid station, Hellah was coming into it. And like, Hellah, you were like, I had not seen anyone I knew for so long. And so seeing you was like,
I think that's what personally knowing someone really well. I'm like, Sally. Yes. I remember opening, I was like, Sally, I'm so happy.
We were like hugging, like still kind of coherent. And then the next time we see each other, I'm like all bloody, like knee injury, like falling all over the place.
It's fun. It's tough, but it's fun. Yeah, people make the experience for sure.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, these are the experiences you remember forever because they're so like intense, right? Yes. Like you're like, I will never forget that ever.
And I saw Courtney was helping someone who was finishing Leadman. Leadman is like with all these crazy things that lead up to Leadville 100. So there was about like 5K left. And I was running majority of that last 12 miles because I saved my leg toward the end. And then I see Courtney for the first time, met her for the first time. We've chatted on social media. And then talked. I was so excited, hugged her. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I see you right now. And as I'm saying bye to her, we're jogging again. There's a hill coming up. I whispered to my pacer, I was like, we cannot walk this. Courtney's watching us. That's what we said. Because of that. That was the only way we ran up that hill, and we got to the top. I'm like, wait, we turned around to see if she's behind, and she was not in her vision. And I was like, okay, we need to walk this one up a little bit because my legs are about to fall off.
Right, and you're at 10,000 feet. Like, it is no joke. Like, just I remember when I first arrived in Leadville, and we had to go upstairs to our hotel. There was no elevator, and I was dying. I'm like, okay, that was the steps up to my hotel room, and I can't imagine how I'm going to feel in this race.
Yes. Motivation come in different form. It was you, it was Courtney, and you find these ways to make you move. Because if it wasn't for you guys, certain things, like, it's hard to find within yourself. So people are really important, and it takes a village. The saying is, it takes a village, literally. And my crew, I'm so grateful for everybody, our friends, Belle, Brandon, you, for wanting to spend. Also, in my mind, when I was running, you guys are on your feet for 30 plus hours, but you're not on your feet just chilling. You're stressing out. Where's Hellah? Oh, what he's going to need when he gets to us? Food. You're like, your mind is clockwork the whole time. So as stressful it might be on my body, in my mind, I think you guys are going through it in a different form too. So people have to realize that it takes a village, and you got to be thankful that people are sacrificing their time from their family and friends to come help you. So thank you so much. I'll forever be grateful for you guys for coming out and helping me for Western State 100.
You're so kind. There's a lot of people that listen to this podcast that, they don't really ever have interest in doing hundreds, but they love to support. They love to volunteer. They love to crew. Yes. So I know they will really appreciate those words, because you're right. The best things in life, our most amazing experience in life, are always when we're surrounded by people that care and love us.
Like, I don't want to live this life when there's no one there to share the joy with. Like, what is that about? You want to share with people and experience. Yes. For sure. Well,
you do that so well. Hellah, tell us, what is the best way that people can follow you?
I'm on all social media, Hellah Good. It's just HellahGod. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Strava, Hellah Good Run Club on Strava. So you'll find me. What is it? Chat Ocho Cinco always says I'm open. I'm always open. You can always find me, guys. Always open, yes.
And I want to encourage our listeners, make sure you do follow him. He is a daily dose of joy. In fact, I gave him a little nickname while I was pacing him. I
said, I like
that. You are Hellah Joy is what you are. I mean, I couldn't believe the positivity and the kindness. There was no one around us. And I was like, this guy has true joy. But, when you shared with me about your upbringing, the life, and you shared so many other hard stories and hard things that you've been through in life that we didn't get to on this first podcast. We're definitely going to have you back. Yes. But I told Eddie this, and I was like, I knew it. I knew he had a story. I knew there was something. I go, because there is a difference between happiness and joy. And joy is something that we can have in even our hardest and darkest times in life, because joy is strength, and joy can help us get through those hard times. Joy doesn't go away. Happiness it's seasonal, and it's based on it's based on what you're experiencing in that moment. But joy is what pulls us out of those hard times. It's what keeps us going. It's filled with hope and strength. And I think that is what I've always seen in you. I was like,
So
joy,
well said. Thank
joy
you.
is something that Hellah has. It's not just this happy face on Instagram. It's like, it's a part of his story and who he is. So I want to say thank you for being so vulnerable and
Thank
sharing
you.
so much about your life with me,
Yes.
but allowing me a front row seat to your journey
Incredible.
of finishing Western States.
A moment in life that I'll never forget, those times. Yes. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. Thank you.
Absolutely. And to all our listeners, thank you so much for joining us today. Please make sure to share this episode. You can do that on any social media outlet, and then make sure that you tag us so that we can reshare that as well. Please leave a review. It means so much to us, and we hope that you have a wonderful day, and in all that you do, keep choosing strong.